Hello students, in this session we will be learning the process of blood clotting and Fuld and Spiro's theory of blood clotting. Hemostasis is the process of clotting of blood or the coagulation of the blood. The blood in the blood vessels is in a fluid state, and when a blood vessel is cut and the blood is exposed to the atmosphere, it converts into a gel state and brings about clotting of the blood, which is also called as coagulation, and this happens in order to stop the flow of the blood. So when the blood clots, there is a process happening there wherein a network of fibrin fibers will form a meshwork in which the blood cells will be caught to form a clot in order to stop the flow of the blood. It was Fuld and Spiro in the year 1904 along with Moravitz who proposed that free calcium ions are essential for the normal processing of coagulation, for the blood to clot and to stop the bleeding. One of the important factor required is the free calcium ion. It was Fuld and Spiro who proposed this theory that free calcium ions are required for the process of blood clotting or coagulation. The process of blood clotting happens in 3 stages. Whenever there is a cut in the blood vessel, the first thing what happens is the wall of the blood vessel has smooth muscles. These smooth muscles will contract. When they contract, it reduces the flow of the blood at the site of injury. This process is called as vascular spasm, where the smooth muscle of the blood vessel will contract to reduce the flow of the blood at the site of injury. The second thing what happens is when the blood vessel cuts, platelets are released at the site of injury. These platelets will start coming together. They stick to each other. They will release a substance and a lot of factors will be involved, and aggregation of these platelets will happen, and because of the aggregation of the platelets, a plug-like structure will be formed. So this platelet plug will try to stop the blood flow for some time till the actual process of clotting will happen. So whenever there is an injury, a blood vessel is cut, first the smooth muscle of the blood vessel will contract to reduce the flow of the blood, called vascular spasm, followed by the formation of the platelet plug. This also tries to reduce the amount of blood loss, or it comes in the way to stop the it tries to stop the bleeding, and then the actual process of clotting will happen, which is also called as coagulation. So for the coagulation, it requires a lot of clotting factors, calcium ions, enzymes, platelets, and the tissues which are damaged, which will release some factors. All these together bring about the clotting of the blood. So when there is a injury to the blood vessel, first the platelets are released. These platelets will break, they will disintegrate, and when they disintegrate, they will liberate thromboplastin. The thromboplastin is required to activate the next factor called as prothrombin, This prothrombin is produced in the liver and is present in the plasma. So when there is an injury, platelets will release thromboplastin. Thromboplastin will activate inactive prothrombin, and inactive prothrombin is converted to active thrombin. And even for this, calcium ions are required. Now what happens next? The active thrombin will convert a protein which is present in the plasma called as fibrinogen or factor 1. So the active protein will convert the fibrinogen which is soluble into insoluble fibrin. So what is, if you look at every step, in every step inactive form is converted to active form, which is very important because normally the blood should not clot inside the blood vessels. It leads to various problems and diseases. Only when there is a cut and there is bleeding, to stop the bleeding or the hemorrhage, clotting should happen. So you will note that in every step the factors which are responsible for the process of clotting or in an inactive state, which will be activated by another factor, which is very, very important. So at the site of injury, the platelets will break, they will release thromboplastin. Thromboplastin will convert the prothrombin, which is inactive, into active thrombin. Active thrombin will convert fibrinogen, which is soluble, into insoluble fibrin. Now this fibrin will be in the form of monomers, and they will come together to form a polymer meshwork, many strands together, polymer, and they form a meshwork, and this meshwork will be stabilized. For the stabilization of the meshwork, you need a factor called factor 13A. So this factor 13A is activated from inactive 13 to active 13A, and calcium ions are required. So the fibrin monomer will become polymer meshwork, and this polymer meshwork is stabilized by activated 13A and calcium ions, and all this will help in the formation of the actual clot. So here the meshwork which is formed will try to shrink, and it will trap the blood cells which is there flowing in the blood, and results in the formation of a gel-like clot. So once the clot is formed, bleeding will stop, and you will see that when the clot formation is complete, a clear liquid will be oozing out from the wound. That is, only the serum will be coming out of the wound. The rest of the factors will be stopped because of the formation of the clot, and after some time even the serum will stop. So when that is there, when that happens, it means the process of clotting is completed. So here you see the process of clotting of blood is called as hemostasis. Hemostasis is the term which describes the process of clotting or coagulation to stop bleeding or hemorrhage. If you look at hemostasis, first thing what happens is the primary hemostasis. During primary hemostasis, the platelets will aggregate and they form a plug at the site of injury, and when there is injury, the blood vessel cuts. The lining of the blood vessel inside is the endothelial lining. When the endothelial lining cells are exposed, then it triggers a series of events which results in the formation of a clot. So primary hemostasis is the formation of the platelet plug. Secondary hemostasis is the main coagulation process where the blood clotting will happen. In this, there are three pathways: intrinsic pathway, extrinsic pathway, and common pathway. We will be looking at each one of them in detail in the coming slide. The common pathway is the last one, wherein the fibrinogen is converted to fibrin. Fibrin monomers will become polymers and ultimately result in the formation of a clot. We will look at each one of them now in the coming slides. So clotting is the process which is very intricate and it requires a number of factors. We will look at each one of them. The first pathway is the intrinsic pathway, which requires the clotting factor 1, 2, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Each one has got a name. Factor 1 is fibrinogen, 2 is prothrombin, 9 is Christmas factor, 10 is Stewart-Prower factor, 11 is plasma thromboplastin and 12 is Hageman factor. These are the factors required in the intrinsic pathway. Extrinsic pathway consists of factors 1, 2, 7 and 10, where factor 7 is called as stable factor. The common pathway consists of factor 1, 2, 5, 8 and 10. If you look at these factors are present in the blood. They are circulating along with the blood. They are streaming in the blood. They are in an inactive state and they are called as zymogens. So once there is a tissue damage, then the zymogen will be activated and they will be converted into active form called as serine proteases. These serine proteases, which are active forms, they will act as catalyst, and what they bring about is conversion of the zymogen in the next step. So we will be seeing how the clotting happens. There is a event happening like a series of reactions. One reaction, the first reaction is converting inactive to active one. The active one in turn will convert the second inactive form to active form. So once one serine protease is formed, this will act as a catalyst and it will convert the inactive zymogen in the next step to active serine protease. You will understand this in the coming slide. So some of the factors which are act as serine protease are factors 2, 7, 9, 10, 11 and 12, and the factors which are non-serine means they do not act as a catalyst in the next reaction. They are called as non-serine protease. They are factors 5, 8 and 13. So for the intrinsic pathway to start, one important factor is the collagen which is present in the endothelial lining of the blood vessel. So when there is a cut and the blood vessel is cut open, the lining of the blood vessel is exposed. The lining of the inner lining of the blood vessel is the endothelial lining which has got collagen. So when endothelial collagen is exposed, it triggers a series of events resulting in the formation of the blood clot. So what is the important factor to trigger the intrinsic pathway? It is the exposure of the endothelial collagen. What is the triggering factor for extrinsic pathway? Extrinsic pathway gets activated when there is a cut. Then the damaged tissue will release a tissue factor. This tissue factor is the activating component of the extrinsic pathway. So for intrinsic pathway, it is the endothelial collagen, and for extrinsic pathway, it is the tissue factor which will activate the pathways respectively. So everything we will look at in detail, together in the last slide, but now here, just for the purpose of understanding, we will show you how the intrinsic pathway will start. Whenever there is a tissue injury, when the blood vessel is cut, the lining of the blood vessel is exposed, that is the endothelial lining, where you have the endothelial collagen, and also platelets will break. Then phospholipids of the platelets are there. So now the endothelial collagen, the platelet phospholipids, in addition to another high molecular weight prekallikrein, all these together will convert inactive factor 12 to active 12A. This is the first step in the intrinsic pathway. Conversion of inactive 12 zymogen into active 12A serine protease is the first step in the intrinsic pathway. And what are the factors which are required for the conversion of inactive 12 to active 12A is the endothelial collagen, then the phospholipids from the platelets, and the high molecular weight prekallikrein. All these together will convert inactive zymogen 12 to active serine protease 12A. Now what the 12A will do? It will convert inactive zymogen 11 to active serine protease 11A. This 11A in turn will activate inactive zymogen 9 and converts it into the 9A active form, and this requires calcium ions. 9A will convert inactive 10 to active 10A, and this requires calcium ions plus active 8A. So in the intrinsic pathway, you need 9A, 8A, calcium ions for the conversion of 10 to 10A. So how the 8A is formed? The thrombin will convert inactive 8 to 8A. So this is the first step, intrinsic pathway. You have to remember that in intrinsic pathway, what are the factors involved? 12, 11, 9, 8. And all of them are bringing about what? One after the other, it is converting inactive zymogen to active serine protease, and ultimately they are bringing about the conversion of inactive 10 to 10A. This is very, very important. Formation of 10A is very important for the process of clotting of blood, and calcium ions are required. Now we will look at the extrinsic pathway. The extrinsic pathway is a complex formation of a complex. First, there is a tissue damage. When the blood vessel opens, the tissue damage occurs. The damaged tissue will release the tissue factor. The tissue factor is also called as factor 3 or thromboplastin, and also it requires factor 7. So what all is required in extrinsic pathway? The tissue factor, that is the factor 3 or thromboplastin, and factor 7. Factor 7 will be present in an inactive zymogen form, and it will be converted to active 7A form. And this 7A in turn is required to convert 10 to 10A. So in the previous slide, in the intrinsic pathway, it is leading to the conversion of 10 to 10A. Another factor which is required for the conversion of inactive 10 to 10A is coming from extrinsic pathway. So both of them together are responsible for the conversion of inactive 10 to 10A, which is very important step in the formation of the blood clot. So you have to remember the conversion of 10 to 10A, first step, it happens in the intrinsic pathway. Secondly, it should be contributed by the extrinsic pathway also. Extrinsic pathway also converts inactive 10 to active 10A, for which it requires factor 3 or thromboplastin and active factor 7A. Now, what are the factors required in the extrinsic pathway? First, there is the injury for the blood vessel, then damage of the tissue, release of the tissue factor, then tissue thromboplastin factor 3 and factor 7 along with calcium ions. So here it is a schematic representation of extrinsic pathway. Tissue injury is happened, then the blood vessel will break, it releases tissue factor which acts upon thromboplastin. Thromboplastin along with calcium ions will convert factor 7 to factor 7A, and this 7A is required to convert 10 to 10A. Now coming to the common pathway. Now what is happening in intrinsic pathway? After a series of steps, 10 is getting converted to 10A. What is happening in extrinsic pathway? The end point is conversion of inactive 10 to 10A. So once this 10 to 10A is over, then it becomes common pathway. Intrinsic pathway has contributed for the conversion of inactive 10 to active 10A. Extrinsic pathway has contributed for the conversion of inactive 10 to active 10A. Then both together will become a common pathway. What happens in this common pathway? In this common pathway, prothrombin will be converted to thrombin in the presence of factor 5, calcium and phospholipids which are present on the surface of the platelets. Thrombin is required for the conversion of fibrinogen to fibrin. Fibrin polymerizes to form a clot. Thrombin also activates factor 8, and this will stimulate the aggregation of the platelet and polymerization of the platelet, and prothrombin requires vitamin K. So vitamin K has got a role and it is required for the normal process of clotting of blood. So which vitamin is required for blood clotting? It is vitamin K, and prothrombin requires vitamin K. So what are all there in common pathway? Factor 10, then prothrombin which is getting converted to thrombin, then calcium, factor 13, fibrinogen which gets converted to fibrin, fibrin which polymerizes and stabilizes to form the clot. So there is intrinsic pathway, extrinsic pathway, both of them are contributing together for the conversion of inactive 10 to active 10A in the presence of calcium ions. 10A will convert 5 to 5A. 5A will help in the conversion of prothrombin to thrombin in the presence of calcium ions. Thrombin will help in the conversion of fibrinogen to fibrin, that is insoluble fibrinogen to soluble fibrin. The monomer fibrin molecules will be converted to stable fibrin polymers with the help of 3A, and the fibrin polymers will form the clot. So this table is showing all the three pathways, how they are working in coordination with each other to form the clot and stop the bleeding. Let us look at the intrinsic pathway first. How the intrinsic pathway starts: when there is tissue injury, vascular endothelium is exposed. Vascular endothelial collagen is exposed. When that is exposed, factor 12 gets converted to 12A. 12 is inactive zymogen, 12A is active serine protease, and this requires high molecular weight kininogen and kallikrein. Now this active 11A acts as a catalyst. It brings about the conversion of inactive zymogen 11 to active serine protease 11A. This requires calcium ions and high molecular weight kininogen. 11A is a serine protease, acts as a catalyst, converts inactive zymogen 9 to active serine protease 9A. This requires calcium ion and 7A. From where the 7A will come? 7A will come from the extrinsic pathway. This is very important. How the two pathways will integrate and later become one common pathway. It will start from here. So 7A is getting activated in the extrinsic pathway, and that 7A is required here for the conversion of 9 to 9A. 9A is a active serine protease which acts upon inactive zymogen 8 and converts it to 8A. For this, calcium ions are required and phospholipids from the platelets are required. Now this 8A plus 7A coming from the extrinsic pathway plus 9A. The 9A and 8A of the intrinsic pathway will form a complex. Complex 9A, 8A from intrinsic pathway along with factor 7A from extrinsic pathway will convert the zymogen 10 to the active serine protease 10A, and from here the common pathway will start. Now we will look at how 7A is formed in the extrinsic pathway. The extrinsic pathway is initiated by injury. So when there is injury, then from the damaged tissue will release tissue thromboplastin. This tissue thromboplastin along with calcium ions will convert the inactive zymogen 7 to active 7A, which is now a serine protease. So this 7A along with the complex 8A and 9A from the intrinsic pathway and 7A from the extrinsic pathway together in the presence of calcium ions, then phospholipids from the platelets and tissue factor from the damaged tissue, all these together will bring about conversion of inactive 10 zymogen to active 10A, which is a serine protease. Is that clear? Now what all is required for the conversion of inactive 10 to 10A? Complex 8A and 9A from intrinsic pathway, factor 7A from extrinsic pathway, tissue factor, calcium ions and phospholipids, all these together will form the active 10A. Now the common pathway starts. The first step in the common pathway is 10A will convert inactive 5 to active 5A in the presence of calcium ions. This 5A will act as a catalyst. It converts prothrombin to thrombin. Here you need 10A also and phospholipids plus calcium ions. Phospholipids 10A and calcium ions together will convert prothrombin to thrombin. Thrombin will convert the soluble fibrinogen into insoluble fibrin. Once the fibrin is formed, then the fibrin strands, which are monomers, will come together to form fibrin polymers, and for this to become stable, the inactive 13 will be converted to active 13A. The zymogen factor 13 is converted to 13A in the presence of calcium ion and thrombin, and this 13A will stabilize the fibrin polymer, and the fibrin polymer ultimately gets converted to a clot. And this is how clot seals the wound. Where the injury is there it is sealed. The blood clot is sealed and it stops bleeding, and thus hemorrhage stops. So this is a very intricate pathway where blood clotting is happening, which involves intrinsic pathway, extrinsic pathway, common pathway. In intrinsic pathway you have factor 10, factor 11, factor 9 and factor 8. So Ultimately, 9 and 8 is required for conversion of 10 to 10A. What another factor is required for conversion of 10 to 10A is 7A, which comes from extrinsic pathway. In extrinsic pathway, you have tissue factor, then you have the thromboplastin, then 7 which gets converted to 7A. Calcium ions play a major role in all these steps, and 10 is converted to 10A. 10A is required for the conversion of 5 to 5A. 5A is required for the conversion of prothrombin to thrombin. Thrombin for the conversion of fibrinogen to fibrin. And the fibrin monomers will become polymers, and it is stabilized by factor 13A. Now once the clotting is stopped, then you have to stop this process. Otherwise, it leads to internal clotting. So there is a factor which will stop the process of blood clotting, and that is this entire process is inhibited by tissue factor pathway inhibitor. It is called as TFPI. Tissue factor pathway inhibitor. This will form a quaternary structure with 7A and 10A. Once the process of blood clotting is completed, then what happens? Then the tissue factor pathway inhibitor, this one, will bind with 7A as well as 10A. When it binds with 7A and 10A, it forms a quaternary structure. Once it forms a quaternary structure, then the process of blood clotting will stop. The process of blood clotting is initiated by tissue injury. It is initiated by vascular endothelium collagen. It is initiated by the tissue factor released. It is initiated by the platelets. Platelets will release thromboplastin. All these will bring about the process of blood clotting, and once it is completed, the tissue factor pathway inhibitor will form a quaternary structure with 7A and 10A and stops the process of clotting. So with this, we have completed the hemostasis process, that is the process of blood clotting, which happens when there is a tissue injury or when there is a damage to the blood vessel. To stop bleeding, this will happen, and this entire process is hemostasis, which happens in 3 pathways: intrinsic, extrinsic, and the common pathway, and vitamin K is required for this process. Thank you, students. So with this, we have completed the topic blood clotting and Fuld and Spiro's theory of blood clotting. What did they say? What they found was very important, because if you look at the entire cascade of events, the events which is happening is one after the other, one leading to the next, one leading to the next. You call this as a cascade of events. And for this cascade of events, calcium ions is very much essential, and calcium ions is playing major role in the process of blood clotting, which was first it was understood by Fuld and Spiro that calcium ions forms an essential part of the process of clotting of blood. You can clarify your doubts by posting them in the chat box in YouTube. Thank you, students.